Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Pomay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of Live with CDP Sports Talk here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Metro Atlanta. And also, Live with CDP Sports Talk is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 and tell them CDP, aka Chris Pomay, sent you there as well. And also, guys, you can now pre-order the Lyric or the electric Silverado as well. Again, I want to say thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for sponsoring my podcast show. Anyways, guys, welcome to part 2 of Live with CDP Sports Talk today. My guest, his name is Nino Cimino. I hope I pronounced that right. I am been working on that. He is an actor, producer, writer, and the founder of Cimino Productions out in Los Angeles, California. He's originally from Chicago, and we're going to talk a little bit about his acting career and how he became the founder of Cimino Productions as well. And he's a friend of Chris Spinelli, who I've had on my show twice. Good afternoon, Nino. How are you doing?
Hey, Chris. How you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay right now.
Nice. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you to Chris Spinelli for arranging this.
Oh yeah, Chris is great. He's a good friend. We've been friends for over 2 years now. He's one of the best, definitely.
Yes, I met him during the pandemic online, and along with Jay and Lauren and Grace Fraga as well. So everybody talks about the negative things about social media, but the pandemic. But you know what? I met a lot of nice people doing this podcast show through technology and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen your show a few times. I got to say, I'm a fan. It's really cool. I like tuning in, definitely.
Well, thank you so much. I'm still trying to get used to compliments, so I'm just going to say thank you so much.
Fair enough. That's the best thing you can say, right?
Yes, I guess like anybody that's starting their own business, you're always your harshest critic.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes with anything, whether it's entertainment or any line of work you're in. I think we're that way normally as humans, you know?
So, are you excited about the Chicago Bears moves lately?
Yeah, they're making some moves in free agency right now. I'm really happy. They traded down for the 9th pick. They got the wide receiver. They made some great defensive free agent signings. I mean, it's looking good. It's looking promising.
Yeah, they had a tough year at 3-14. One thing I wanted to ask you quickly about the Bears is Justin Fields a long-term solution at starting quarterback for the franchise?
I think he is. I think, if you see him play, the kid's fantastic. I mean, it's like another Michael Vick almost, like 2.0. But I think he didn't have the right supporting tools to help him, progress. You know what I mean? I think now that they're making a few moves, they traded for the new wide receiver. I think you give him the right guys to play with, sky's the limit.
Have you been a lifelong Chicago Bears fan?
Oh yeah. I grew up I remember in '86 when the Bears beat the Patriots. They had Walter Payton, the Fridge, McMahon. I mean, I was 6 years old when that happened. So the thing is, I've lived in LA 22 years, and I've always been a Bears fan. Even the years that they, maybe had a losing record, I got to stick to. I can't see myself rooting for another team.
My first NFL game with my late dad was in 1985. Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions at the Silverdome in Detroit. And, of course, that was the years the Bears won their first and only Super Bowl. And it's like, I can't believe it's been that long since they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
They've had some really good teams since then. But
right. When they went again in 20 years later in '06, but they lost. They ran into Peyton Manning and the Colts. But that was an exciting team with Devin Hester and everyone as well.
definitely. So, the Bears. Do you think the Bears will get a new stadium? There
I
has
think
been,
it's looking that way. I mean, I think the
yeah.
city is really behind it. And the nice thing about Soldier Field, the funniest thing I always tell people, it can be the dead of winter, negative 20 degrees, and people will be out there, like guys will have their shirts off and spray painted like "Go Bears" or whatever. It's hilarious. It doesn't matter. Those are those diehard fans. So I think they're ready for a new stadium. I think they want one, you know?
Absolutely. Hey, I see you're a Chicago Bulls fan as well. I've had Chuck Swirsky, the voice of the Bulls, on my show.
Oh, nice.
Tim St. Clair, who's the PA announcer, and also Tommy Edwards, who created the opening intro for the Bulls in '84 with Michael Jordan with Sirius.
Nice. Nice.
Real,
Those
real,
are.
real good guys, and it's like even though I'm a Detroit Pistons fan,
Mhm.
getting to know these guys, really good guys, and the Bulls and the Pistons had such a great rivalry in the
That was that
season.
was something, you know. That was when the Bulls finally beat them and they learned how to, get to that next level. That was, there were so many years of getting closer and closer and closer. So that was, as a Bulls fan, to finally see them not only beat the Pistons but sweep them and then move on to play the Lakers. I thought that was a real passing of the torch with the Bulls.
Did you ever go to any games at the
Oh,
old
did
Chicago
I?
Stadium?
Let me tell you, since from 15 to maybe 18, I would go with my brother-in-law Gaetano, who's still in the Chicago area. We would go all the time, and my cousin Pepino, and oh, those were some great memories. I saw Jordan play. I saw Jordan score 60 points against Gary Payton. So I guess it wasn't the glove that night, but oh yeah, I have so many fond memories with my brother-in-law going to see those games.
I never was able to go to Chicago Stadium, so that's why I wanted to ask you if you were able to go to that old stadium before the United
Oh, I'm
Center.
sorry. No, I only saw them at the United Center. I'm sorry, I heard the question wrong. I
Okay.
never went to the Chicago Stadium, but side story, my parents, they went to Chicago Stadium to see Elvis live. It was in 77, I think it was one of his last concerts. So they did go to Chicago Stadium to see Elvis right before he passed away. So little connection there.
Awesome. So you're just Bears and Bulls. Is there any other Chicago teams you like?
I never got into baseball and I never got into to hockey or anything like that. I mean, obviously, if they're in the playoffs, I'll root for any Chicago teams, but I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you the name of one player. I never got into those sports, but the football and basketball, I'm very diehard.
And there's lots of sports in Los Angeles now, especially with the return of the NFL with the Rams and the Chargers and stuff.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I went with my buddy Jay Alvarez, who's a great actor. He co-stars in a lot of movies with me. The guy's like a brother to me. We went to see the LA Chargers play the Seahawks this season. And let me tell you that SoFi Stadium, that is state of the art. That is a really excellent stadium. It's only about 20 minutes from where I live. It wasn't that bad. And we had a good time. Really cool place.
I think that's in Inglewood where the Lakers used to play at the Forum.
Yeah, right
Out
by
there.
there. Yeah, literally. It's no traffic. You're talking 20 minutes from where I live. It's not that far at all.
Do you ever go see the Bulls and Lakers when Chicago comes to town?
I always want to, but there always seems to be something's going on. I think they're actually coming when my daughter's gonna be here, but she's only gonna be here for 10 days, so I didn't want to
Yeah.
go out one night while my daughter's here.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm gonna go see it.
And one thing is, I've never been out to Los Angeles or California, so I'm gonna have to get out there someday.
Yeah, come down. I'd love to take you out for a cup of coffee or something, or come have some of my pizza.
Oh, we got to talk pizza. I look Italian. I'm not Italian, but I love pizza. I love pasta. I love lasagna and Italian food. It's my favorite food.
Nice, nice. Well, you're Italian at heart, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
All
So
right.
I'm gonna just get into some questions, Nino.
Sure, please.
I'm just based in Guelph, Ontario, which is about an hour from Toronto, 2 hours from Buffalo. Can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, my parents are Italian-born immigrants. My father, who sadly passed about 10 years ago, his name was Vincenzo. He was born in Sicily. And my mother, Angela, who's still alive, and she lives with me. So I get to see her every day. It's really nice to see her with my daughter interact. My mother was from Rome. So we have a Sicilian father and a Roman mother. They fell in love, the whole story. I think they were 17 or something. They actually, before coming to the Chicago area, they lived in Toronto for 6 months. And so there's a little connection with Canada there too. They lived in Toronto, and then we're only going to Chicago for a wedding. I believe my uncle was getting married, and my parents liked America, and they stayed. I believe they came over in like '68. My two older sisters.
I was gonna say, and how did they remember their 6 months time in Toronto? Did they enjoy it?
Oh yeah, they loved it. They always, I was never able to go visit with them, but they said there was a really big Italian community and just the culture in general. They said the people were really nice and family values and whatnot. So it was only 6 months, but they only had fond memories of that time.
Yeah, and Toronto is one of the biggest multicultural cities in North America and in the world as well.
Absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
our version of New York City.
There you go, there you go. But no, yeah, they had such great memories. Just like I said, the mixed cultures there and everything. Just a lot of good stories they told me.
Yeah, and the weather in Chicago is similar to Toronto as well,
Yeah.
being off of Lake Michigan.
Definitely. It can be, that's funny. You can go to Chicago in August and it can be humid. It can be so hot. But once you get down to where like the lake is and everything, you can be freezing. It's the only place I've ever experienced that before, where you have like 105-degree weather and then you get down to where the Great Lakes are and it's freezing.
Yeah, Toronto's similar to that. We have our hot, humid summers here, and then in the wintertime it can get frigid and right off the lake as well. So, but
Yeah.
I've been to Chicago a couple times. I love Goose Island beer, and I had my deep dish pizza in Chicago
Nice.
from Giordano's, and it was like, oh my
Georgia.
god, it was like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gio.
Okay.
I think it was Giordano's.
Okay.
If I had a name, took 45 minutes to bake it, but it was the best pizza I ever had. And it was like, if I'm gonna die, this is something I'm gonna eat. Deep dish
Right.
pizza.
Well, I'll tell you, what's interesting. So my parents opened up a pizzeria, and now there's many Cimino's Pizzeria, Mama Cimino's. My sister and brother-in-law have Enzo's Pizza, and a lot of my cousins have different Cimino's Pizza all around the area. There's about maybe 20 locations. There's one in Laguna Beach. My cousin Peter has one about an hour from here. It's called Pizza Bar, and then there's a couple locations in Vegas. But my parents opened the first one, and our pizza was more that Italian style, like thin crust. Even though we're in the
Okay.
Chicago area, they always, because what they learned in Italy was thin crust pizza. My mother's family were cooks, and so when they came over, my dad had the idea one day, like, hey, let's open up a pizzeria. But our Cimino pizza is thin crust.
Okay, and I like both as well. So
Oh,
I guess have they ever thought about expanding to Canada or Ontario?
well, I'm not too sure because the thing is, every relative owns their own. Like each cousin owns their own location. It's not like a franchise except maybe the names are the same.
Okay. But I'll definitely have to check it out the next time I visit
Oh
Chicago because
yeah,
there's
if you're
nothing
ever
better than
down
good
there,
pizza.
we'll take a drive down. My cousin, like I said, is an hour away. It's beautiful in Laguna Beach. You can see Pizza Bar. It's right on the ocean. Basically, we'll go down. There's some good food, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I've never even been on an airplane yet. So
Oh,
I guess after 50 years, I should go on an airplane. I
what?
guess yeah, for me to drive out to California would take me about a week. So it would probably be better to take
Yeah.
I think a flight from Toronto or Buffalo would be about 5.5, 6 hours to LA.
Oh wow. Okay, I got you. Okay.
But
Yeah, I mean,
I think,
one day, yeah, come out, check out the United States. Like I said, my sister now, her restaurant's in Wisconsin. They're about an hour away from Illinois, but it's a really nice little spot called Enzo's Pizzeria. So they're all around, But definitely, when you come to the United States, you let me know, and we'll meet up or something.
yeah, I've been to 13 states so far, but California I haven't. Wisconsin, I have been there. I've been there for a Green Bay Packers game. They have
Okay.
great. They love their food. They love their sausage, and they love their cheese down in Wisconsin. It's a real nice state as well.
I gotta tell you, I despise anything Green Bay Packers, but that's just because of the Bears rivalry. You know what I mean? So, and we've been so unlucky. There was Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers. So I've had decades of like all-time great quarterbacks playing for the Packers. So hopefully, it looks like maybe Rodgers is taking off.
It looks like he might be going to the New York Jets,
Yeah.
and Jordan Love might take over for Green
And
Bay.
Jordan
But
Love's great too. And all these, obviously Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, they're talents, they're, Hall of Famers. But as a Bears fan, I'm like, man, I don't like those guys, just for as a sports thing. But obviously you can't deny their talent. They're amazing football players.
absolutely. So, the next question I wanted to ask you, Nino, is where did you attend school, and when did you decide that you wanted to pursue a career in the movie industry?
Well, I never went to college. When I turned 21, I decided I wanted to move to Los Angeles to study acting. My brother Giuseppe had many years ago in New York. He had moved out east to get engaged and get married. He had studied in Manhattan with a gentleman named Piero Dusa, and my brother used to send me the tapes of their acting, their plays, and everything. And Piero had moved to California, so I said, well, I want to go study with this guy. He also was from Sicily, like my dad, so there was that familiarity there. So I literally turned 21 and moved to LA, and I studied at the Promenade Playhouse in Santa Monica, California for 2 years straight.
How much of an adjustment was it being at 21, moving from like Chicago, a Midwest city, to the West Coast in LA?
Well, it's a they're both big cities, but obviously there's a LA lifestyle, there's a Chicago lifestyle, there's different things. A lot of people from here are from everywhere else, obviously, because it's like the entertainment capital of the world. But I try to be make the best of it all. I think I'm a social person. I make friends wherever I go. I try to, start a conversation at a coffee shop, whatever. I became one of my best friends, Armando Bravo. He's been my best friend for 22 years. He's my daughter's godfather. He started an acting school with me. So we hit it off right away. And similar, his family were Mexican immigrants. My family were Italian immigrants. Until this day, he's like my brother, like him and his family. He's a great guy. So it's funny, from acting school, I met one of my best friends for life.
Yeah, when I was younger, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I did have a passion for sports and broadcasting back there, but I
Mhm.
just found it when I was in my teenager years, or early 20s. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I guess that's important too, to kind of figure out what you wanted to do. Because at 21, and sometimes you just don't know what you really want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I could always take over my parents' restaurant one day if I wanted to. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, all my relatives have made a great, career running restaurants. And till this day, like, you'll see some of my photos on social media. Every Sunday, I make pizza homemade in my apartment. I'll make risotto or pasta or something. So the skills are still, the memory's still there. But, my dream was always to make movies. So I had to go. That was what my heart was telling me to do. So I was really motivated to come out here. 22
You,
years later, here I am.
where's the time go? Honest to God, it just flies by. As soon as you hit,
Yeah,
I think, as soon as you hit 20 or 21 or whatever age,
yeah.
it just flies by.
Yeah, I mean, last month I turned 43, and I was thinking back, I was like, 43? Well, I was 21. I was a baby when I came here. But I've made a lot of good friends that I could call extended family out here. And I think it's the group that you hang out with too, I've made a good group of friends, not just in the movie industry, but my own close, kind of, the neighborhood I live in is called Palms. It's right down the street from Sony Studios. And there's kind of a neighborhood bar me and my buddies go to. It's very, um, like New York, Chicago style, where you walk everywhere. Like, we walk when my beautiful daughter comes here, the park is walking distance. So we'll walk, we'll get coffee. There's the sports bar. I'll take my daughter there to get lunch in the afternoon. We'll go to the park, or like I said, at night, me and my buddies will go out and have a couple of drinks, do a little karaoke, whatever. So I'm very fortunate because, in LA, there's so many different types of people. I'm very fortunate that I made such a close group of extended family.
How important was it to have a strong support system, especially when you moved there 21 years ago?
Oh, it kept my sanity. I mean, my mother and father and my brothers and sisters, having them just call to check in on me all the time was, as 21-year-old, you're kind of navigating through it all. That was so important. And this was at the beginning, this was kind of before cell phones were a big thing. So I had a landline, and my sister would call, or my brother, and just talk and hear their voice, reestablish. There's 6 kids. they're 3 boys, 3 girls. And so, big Italian family. I have probably too many nephews and nieces to count. Now there's great nephews and nieces, and it's our family very tight. And that was very important to me, hearing their voices and talking to them, especially in the beginning.
Because being in the movie industry, I guess it's a very competitive industry. It always has been.
Of
But
course.
how much of a shock was it when you first started up your production company?
I'll tell you, I got out of acting school. I did an audition. My acting teacher told me, "Do you really want to go audition until you have all your tools?" And I was like, "No, he makes sense," because I remember a lot of my other classmates would have agents or audition and stuff. And I said, "No, I'm gonna do." It was a 2-year program. I went to class like 3 or 4 times a day, and you gotta understand, I didn't really do the high school thing. So I did for a little bit, but I didn't finish high school. But this was something that I got behind. Like I was, 40, camera class, learning auditioning classes, different scenes and whatnot, breaking down your character. So this was something I was really motivated about. So when I was done, I said, okay, I'm going to do a mailing, because back then you took little cards of yourself and you mailed them out. And I actually got an agent, or I should say a manager from that. I went on my first audition and I booked it. It was just a local bank commercial. It wasn't anything like national. And so I was getting experience from things like that. And then finally, work started to slow down a little bit. And I always wanted to, even back in Illinois, I always wanted to maybe not direct my own things, but write and produce things that I could act in. And so, I saved some money, and I think it was like 2009, maybe 2008. Yeah, I said, I'm going to produce my own feature film. I had done some short films. I was using my production company to make short films to kind of learn the process. You make your mistakes, learn from it, go to the next one. So that kind of led to the production company making the movie called American Mobster, which was a great film that I did. I wrote it, I produced it, I financed it. We had some great actors in there. We had Robert Miano, who's done so many movies. He was kind of the bad guy in Donnie Brasco. He was in one of the Fast and Furious movies. Frank Stallone was in the movie, who's Grammy nominated, Golden Globe nominated singer, actor. Obviously, he's Sly's brother too. And working with these kind of actors I was young at the time, I really learned a lot just being on set with them.
A couple of questions I wanted to ask you, and I didn't write them down. I just wrote them on notes.
It's
When you were younger, did you have a favorite directors that you really admired their work? And when you wrote your first movie, what was the time process for that?
Well, I'll do the director one first, because the other one might be a long story. But
Okay.
being Italian American, I levitated towards Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, because I could connect with those characters that they were, putting out on film. But, I loved so many, obviously George Lucas. I love Star Wars. That was a big one for me. Steven Spielberg, like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, those were the ones from the 70s and 80s. Brian De Palma was really big. I loved all those. I believe, in my opinion, the 70s were the best era of films. So any of those like anti-hero type 1970s movies, Sidney Lumet, all of those movies, I have great respect for. Michael Cimino, same name as me, but we're not related. He did meet my father once a long time ago, who did The Deer Hunter, another amazing movie, But I think the two that were most dear to my heart were Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola.
Wow, two great choices, and one of mine was Ron Howard. Obviously, he
Yeah,
started as an actor, and then he made himself even more famous as a director.
yeah. It's funny. He said in an interview while he was filming American Graffiti with George Lucas that he was going to be going to USC to take filmmaking classes, because he wanted to direct. And George Lucas was like, "Oh, he went there himself," so he was like, "Yeah, you should go to USC." So they had that common bond on set while they were filming American Graffiti.
Okay. Now, you've already told us how you started up your production company. What were some of the challenges of starting up your own production company, and what did you love about starting up about it?
Well, I wanted to make this movie, and I'll go back to where you had asked me earlier. I'll tie it in here. I had wrote this character, Nick Romano. The first time I wrote it I was maybe 19, so you're talking 1999, back in Illinois. And I had written a script, kind of like a young story, but all the characters were there. Frank Stallone's character was there. My character was there. And it was more just like a neighborhood kid that was trying to find his way. And I tried just with an old VHS camera to film it. Like, I got actors. I would go to my parents' restaurant after we would close, obviously. We would film scenes. I got actors. And it's still, I have the footage somewhere here in my house. But so this was like an idea that I always wanted to go back to. I said, this is a good story about this kid who's like, you know, life's looking at him in the eyes, and what does he take, this path or this path? And he was kind of an orphan, but his uncle took him in. So I said, there's a good story there. So once I had started doing short films and I wanted to make a feature film, I kept remembering my Nick Romano story. I said, well, I'm going to write this Nick Romano story. So in a way, I've been playing Nick Romano since I was 19. Every 10 years I come back, you know. But I wrote the script. I remember I was working at this restaurant in Santa Monica, and I was doing serving, managing. I was saving all my money. I was saving tax returns. I was anything I could, working 6 days with 1 day off just to save money to pay for this. So that's kind of how the first one fell back together in like 2008, 2009.
Wow. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about, Nino, as well. Obviously, I'm starting a new career order in life.
Sure.
When you first broke into the industry, did you face a lot of rejections?
Oh yeah, like I said, you know, as with any industry, especially, I mean, you know, look, this is the hardest industry. They call LA the city of broken dreams, rightfully so. And you know, I started well. Like I said, you normally you don't book your first audition. I got lucky. You know, I booked it, like I said, just a local one. But then after that, I went cold. You know, a couple callbacks, couple between me or the other guy for the part of like a TV movie, or you know, but it got cold for a while. So instead of being like discouraged, I kept writing, you know, and I said, well, I'm gonna write my own stuff, you know, and if anything, it's a reel to show to other casting directors or, you know, representation. So if anything, it motivated me to keep writing and keep making my own, you know, paths for myself.
And my story is a little different, but I've had my successes, but I've also had my rejections. But I kind of use my rejections as even more motivation to prove people wrong. I guess I have the underdog, Rocky Balboa type mentality.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I could tell you a million people when I left said, "Oh, he'll be back in 2 weeks. He'll be back in a month," and I never went back. You know what I mean? That's what that fuels your fire. You know what I mean? That fuels, like you were saying, that makes you want to keep going to the next level. You dig deep, find out what you're really made of. You know, I think that's definitely had a big part with myself sticking around.
And anytime you start a new career, you have to make some sacrifices as well.
Sure.
That's just my take on that.
Of course, of course. And yeah, you know, looking back, there's probably a million things you could say, oh, I could have done that different. I could have done that. But in hindsight, it's like, I'm glad that things happened the way they did. Because if anything, they were all learning experiences, you know, helps you put it towards the next factor of your life.
And just talking to you, I can tell how much passion you have, and I think that's how important it is. Whatever you do in life, it's important to have a passion. And if you don't have that passion, then maybe it's time to move on to something else.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, that, yeah, you have to love what you do. And I love the filmmaking process. My whole life since I was a kid. I remember, you know, I never went to film school. I went to acting school, but I feel like I would buy DVDs when there were DVDs for the behind the scene making of documentaries, you know, of whether it was Apocalypse Now or Taxi Driver or E.T., you name it, Superman the movie. Those were the making of those, because that was a really, you know, the production. They fired the director for the second movie. You know, there were so many, but I feel like those really trained me to learn how to go about making a movie. Really, I mean, I kind of got an idea just from that, how, okay, this is how you do it, you know. So those were always very like educational to me.
Okay. This leads to my next question, Nino. Did you have a mentor or mentors when you were first starting out in the industry?
Acting wise, like I said, I mentioned him before, Piero Dusa, who taught me acting. I still talk to him till this day. I'll send him a text, or even if we might not be able to see each other as often, because I believe now he does private coaching only. I don't think he's involved with the school anymore. But yeah, he really in the beginning, it was a big, you know, because I looked up to him because he was Italian like myself, you know, and he just taught me a lot of good things in acting class that I remember to this day. Just, be in the moment, be truthful, don't push it. Just his best advice he ever gave me was get out of your head, get out of your head, get out of your head. And I always say that, he told me that's important in acting and that's important in life. So now when we're on set with other actors, sometimes if I see that they're overthinking the scene or anything, I'll say, hey, get out of your head, get out. I kind of learned my own method of acting from him, but definitely that was my mentor.
Okay. When you did your first role in a movie, were you a little bit nervous at the time?
It was a little nerve-wracking because also I was paying for everything, and so you're wondering like, wow, is this gonna sell? I had no distribution or anything. Is this gonna do, and then I had like Frank Stallone for a day, and I had Robert Miano, and these were like, known actors, like professional actors, and the other actors on set were great too, but these were actors that had been in some big projects, and I just didn't want to come across as unprofessional. I just wanted everything to work well. So of course there's a little nerves with that.
When you first started your production company as well, Nino, what was a daily day like, and approximately how many hours a day were you putting in?
Well, back then I was working. I would wake up in the morning and I would do about 2 hours of emails and whatnot just to organize things. And then I would go work at that restaurant I was telling you about for the afternoon. I would go there from about maybe 11 to 4. And then I would go from that to the guy that was producing and casting with me, Dan Velez, who sadly is no longer with us, but he was a dear friend of mine. He had an office in Hollywood. So after the restaurant, I would go up to Hollywood, which during rush hour, Santa Monica and Hollywood can be a good hour and a half, depending what time of day it is. But normally it's maybe 20 minutes. So I would go do that till about, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So you're talking 7 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, 6 days a week. So it was nonstop because maybe you have to go up there to do casting or you have to do some emails in the morning. And then, I got to work the regular job too in the middle. So I remember those were some long, long days.
It's not your typical 8 to 4, Monday to Friday banker's job.
I wish. I wish. It's probably easier making pizzas. You know what I mean? But
What would you tell somebody that's watching our show right now, live stream or on audio or later on WQEE 99.1 FM, the key in Atlanta, a cheap plug there. What would you tell them if somebody's out there is looking to becoming an actor, actress, or get into film producing?
well, have a thick skin. Anything is possible. I mean, if we saw the Oscars, look at the guys that won Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor. I mean, these actors are talented, but for whatever reason, they might have drifted away from the media limelight, and then all of a sudden they put in these great, great, amazing performances, and now they have Oscars. So it's never over. It's how bad do you want it? If you want it bad enough, stick with it. Stick with it and keep doing your thing, and eventually, if you stay with it, good things will probably happen. You got to have a thick skin. You go to auditions, already leave the audition thinking that you didn't get it. Forget about the audition, because if you keep thinking about it, it's not going to be good for your frame of mind. Do the audition, do the best you can, and then move on to the next thing and forget about it. My acting teacher, Piero, used to always say that. Go in there and then forget about the audition.
I got to ask you this as well. How long is a general average audition like?
Well, it's with the COVID, and then they were doing, self tapes and everything. Now it's a different process altogether. Now you just, you do a self tape now, whereas before there would be 50 people going into the casting director. It's a long process. Now you're going in person if you've been through like the preliminary rounds, so to speak. So, I work kind of more, I don't really audition at the moment. I'm kind of working like I'm acting in these films that I'm also producing. But, a lot of my actor friends, I have thousands of them out here. They'll have a full day of doing 8 self-tape auditions. So they do them all from their house, but it's 8 different movies or 8 different TV shows or series, whatever it is. So it's a real thing. If anything, I think it's easier because one, the actor, I mean, I remember the days I had to go to Paramount do an audition, and then leave and go to Universal Studios, and then come back to Sony, and then go back. I got a call back. I got to go back to Paramount. Now you can do it all at the privacy of your house. And some of my actors, they buy some lighting and they get a room that's quiet, and they really go for it, you know. So now I think if anything, it makes the process a little easier. On the production side too, it's easier for the producers and casting directors, because instead of being in the office for 4 hours looking at 100 people, you're having someone look at the tapes, and whoever looks good, they'll pass those on to you. So I think if anything, the advent of the self tape has only helped the industry.
How hard was the industry and your business affected by the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic, you know, the first 3 months there were no filming at all. You know what I mean? Everything was as it was the whole world basically those first 3 months, and then afterwards, I remember when I started up again with Gregory Hatanaka, and I can go into more detail with that, and Chris Spinelli. When I met them, we did the movie, the sequel to American Mobster Retribution. So this is the sequel to the film I did with Frank Stallone and Robert Miano all those years ago, 10 years later, whatever it was. But anyways, everyone had to send in a COVID test. We all had to wear masks, social distancing. I remember the standing sets we would film at, there was a limit of like 14 or 15. You couldn't have over 15 people at one time. So you could trade people out. Like if an actor only came in for 2 hours and then left, you could replace them with someone else, but you couldn't have more than 15 or 14 people at a time. So I remember when I started working with Chris Spinelli and Gregory Hatanaka, you know, everyone had to get those COVID tests in before we set foot in the place, masks, social distancing, all of that.
Yeah, because I was just going to say that 2.5 year stretch, even here in Ontario,
Yeah.
it was hard on everything. But you know what got me through it personally was
Yeah.
doing this podcast show, because I
Yeah.
started this in March of 2020, and
Nice.
thankfully for this technology, it got me through it for a couple years. Because I was going to ask you this as well, as an actor, producer,
Mhm.
writer. Do you appreciate things now a little bit more after the pandemic? I know
Oh,
I do.
I think you have to. Yeah. I mean, just being able to walk into a building, or, you know, see your friends, the simple things that maybe we took for granted. You know what I mean? It's great to get back into it. Just like I said, I have a lot of buddies and stuff, and we would like to go Fridays and Saturdays to the local bar down the street called the Garage. You know, that's our spot where we go, you know, and they have karaoke Friday and Saturday nights. And I'll tell you, I missed not doing that, because that was something me and my friends would do and have fun and have a million laughs. And when it came back that first night, it felt really cool. Like, oh, okay, things are back to normal now, you know. So definitely, whatever it is, you know, that you're into, just having the feeling, you know, normal and familiar again, that was awesome.
You mentioned the word karaoke. I tried it once when it was in New York City, and the owner said, "Don't ever come back again." Because I guess when
Wow.
I had a few too many drinks, I
Well,
had a few drinks down in New York City. I had fun, and it was
right.
a fun experience. But I have no future as a karaoke singer. As unfortunately, I don't have musical talent.
Well, my mother, believe it or not, my mother was trained to do opera back in Italy. She has, if you hear my mother sing, that's one of the best voices I ever heard in my life. So my mother is also my biggest critic when I sing. Like I'll be singing around the house and she'll say, "No, you did that too low. Start again." And I'm like, "Ma, I'm just humming a song to myself." Very, you know, but it's great because you know, I don't want to be a singer or anything like that, but I like singing a lot of oldies, you know, because that's the era that my father and my mother, you know, they were born in 43. So that like 50s, 60s doo-wop, I love that stuff. And then anything Rat Pack or Elvis, I'm a big Elvis fan. You know, I can sing all of that, you know, and I like to do that for fun. Like I said, Friday, Saturday, cut loose with my friends. I like to sing those oldies. And then, you know, I'll throw in a little 1990s Belle Biv DeVoe, New
Yeah.
Edition, Bobby Brown, whatever, just to mix it up. Stuff from like when I was, you know, a teenager or whatever. But it's all for fun. I like singing these old songs because I guess they remind me of my childhood.
And as for myself, I like to listen to 70s and 80s music, and also Motown music, because I used to
Oh
visit
yeah,
my cousins in Michigan back in the 70s, and I'd
yeah.
always hear Motown music, and I just like upbeat, positive music as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, I think the Bee Gees, if we're talking about the '70s, to me, the Bee Gees is to me my favorite group of all time. I'm not saying the greatest group of all time, but I'm saying they're my personal favorite group. I mean, the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever was, to this day, historic. And then Motown, that's part of those oldies I was listening to with my parents. I went to see Smokey Robinson in concert live about a year ago, and let me tell you, that man, he can still sing. He's amazing. And he wrote for so many artists too. So he has a beautiful voice, and he's so talented writing the songs too.
And I was supposed to see Billy Joel a couple years ago, but the pandemic here kind of quashed that. And that's somebody I want to see. He still can perform even in his 70s. And a lot of these guys obviously don't need the money, but they still have the passion for what they're doing.
Yeah, we're going to, I think we're going to the Forum. Me and my actor friend I mentioned earlier, Jay Alvarez, and my other friend, Abens Maurice. These guys are like, when we all get together, and then, Chris Spinelli and my other buddies, we're kind of like the Rat Pack, we say, it's got that vibe to it. But me and Abens and Jay, we're going to see New Edition in a month. And that's going to be all 6 of them: Bobby Brown, Belle Biv DeVoe, Johnny Gill, Ralph Tresvant. So these are like we were kind of teenagers. Yeah. Songs came out. So I'm really looking forward. I've never seen them together in person. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay, before I show a video clip of your work, I have a viewer. He just said, "What an inspiration you are. I love your work."
Oh, thank you. That looks like Vincenzo Renda. That looks like you. That's my nephew, Vinny. Like the movie My Cousin Vinny, I got my nephew, Vinny. So that's my nephew in New Jersey. My sister Rose's son. And beautiful family. He has a great wife, a beautiful little boy. So hi, Vinny. Love you. If he's watching right now. My sister Rose and all her kids are there. And then so I have my sister Pia in Chicago. My sister Rose is in New Jersey. My brother Giuseppe's in New Jersey with his wife Kathy and their kids. So I have siblings everywhere.
Okay, definitely. Hey, before we get to a few more questions, is it okay if I just show a little clip?
Let's do it.
Just a preview clip of Wise Guy Christmas, and then just maybe talk to my audience about how about you came about that movie as well.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, 1 second. It's about a minute clip. 1 minute clip.
No problem. We got it.
What if you, me, and maybe a couple other guys decide to knock off this kid's hospital on Christmas Eve?
You think we could do something like that?
Great! We have you surrounded.
This is all my destiny.
Destiny.
It's Christmas Eve. You shouldn't be alone.
I told you already. I do not do Christmas.
You need to keep a low profile, remember?
I got you. No problem. You have 3 seconds to move, or I am going to get out and put my foot right up your ass.
What do you say?
Oh, no, nothing. All he said in Italian is that his heart is very happy to see you because you remind him of his dead brother back in Italy that was murdered by a giraffe.
Was inches deep. Santa surely wouldn't like this.
All right, that clip was courtesy of your YouTube channel, and just thoughts on that movie.
That movie never gets old. Let me tell you, that was I love all my movies. That one was probably the funnest time I had on set. That was, so Gregory Hatanaka, I should backstory a little bit here. Gregory picked up the first American mobster movie that I made back there. I think it got released in 2012. He distributed it. And then we kind of lost out of contact. And then during COVID, I sent him an email and we were just talking. And I said, would you ever want to make a sequel to American Mobster? But this time I would have him direct it because Greg, he directs the movies, distributes them and whatnot. So he said, yeah. So we worked together. And that's when, I met Chris Spinelli through him. And then I met also Nicole D'Angelo. And the 4 of us kind of produced these films together. And I'll tell you, it became like such a film family right away. Like, because of my background, having such a close family, I kind of put that personality towards anything. So we all, kind of got along so well. And it was like, you're going to work every day with your family, And so once we did the American Mobster movie, Greg always likes to have these holiday movies for his distribution company. And I said, you know what? I could write my own Christmas movie, but it would be my little take on it. A wise guy that's in the witness protection program that hates Christmas. And there's reasons why he hates Christmas. So he gets sent to LA, but everyone's like, Merry Christmas, and he hates it. And that was a fun time. My co-star Jacqueline Marfuji, I mean, it was great working with her. And I think the heart of that movie is me and Chris Spinelli together, our chemistry. I mean, from day one, any movie I always write a character for Chris Spinelli, because our scenes together are so, that was a lot of fun. We have a great chemistry. And, also under Greg's direction, I mean, like I said, we really built a great film family, definitely. So that's that movie. We made it, and it was nominated for Best Picture Comedy 2021 at the Santa Clarita International Film Festival. So only good memories with that project.
How satisfying is it knowing when your movie's out? Like, what kind of satisfaction do you get when your movie does get released?
I mean, it's great. With Greg, they're all streaming on Amazon Prime, Tubi, and then sometimes other different streaming sites too. But, you hear back from people, or you see reviews. Hey, that was a good movie. I saw it. It was funny. The cool thing with Wise Guy Christmas, because it was nominated for Best Picture, we got to see it in a movie theater on the big screen. And it was a packed theater. I mean, we had so many people there, and it was warms your heart to see something like that. It was fun. It's a fun experience always. It's really nice.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I should have wrote this down, is
okay.
How important is it? We always talk about this in any career and any profession you do. How important is it really, even in the movie industry, when you're working with different actors and actresses and directors and producers to get along? I'm not saying be best friends, but how important can that be to the success of a movie?
Well, I think it's very vital because, like I said, so many of us, Greg, Chris, Nicole, there's Louis DeStefano, Linda Wong, my group, Benny, we all work together, Johnny Avila. We've worked together so long now. Like I said, we've built that family unit. And it really, like, okay, I'm going on set for 12 hours a day with these people, And so when you get maybe someone in that is bringing off a different vibe, it throws it off big time, because the energy in the room has to all be simpatico. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has to be vibing together. When you get someone who's maybe, like you were saying, not bringing the same energy, it throws it off, because everyone is working towards the same goal. And we have a lot of fun on set. Let me tell you, we have a lot of fun. Everyone is very loose. We're laughing. We're getting work done, but we're enjoying it too, because we're with our friends, But it definitely is an important thing that everybody gets along.
And the word I wanted to use as well, and I'm learning this doing the TV side with media as well, is even in a movie production, it really truly is a team effort.
Oh, yeah.
From like, obviously, the producer, the director, the actors, the guys behind the scenes that the
For
fans
sure.
don't see. And can you mention about the behind the scenes of a movie for my audience?
Yeah, let me tell you, I produce, and I'm right there with the details as far as, shooting schedules, casting, rehearsing. Everyone with us plays their own part. I do that, but then, like, Nicole, for example, she handles a million things, but, she'll handle, like, let's say props or wardrobe or anything. So I'll break down a list of every scene, and I'll type, okay, scene 1 needs this, scene 2 needs this, send it to her. She'll get it, put it all together. And then when she goes on set, she'll set dress the place with everything that I wanted, and then Greg, I'll kind of tell him, well, I had this idea for it, so he'll shoot it like in the way that I was thinking it when I wrote it. And, Chris Spinelli helps me out with a lot of, casting or this and that, or organization with what time we can be at the location. So without the main four of us, I mean, everybody puts in their own little, power to the group to make it, it's very important when all of us get together, and then also, like, the crew that, Louis DeStefano is like a brother to me. He also does camera, so Linda Wong does a million things too. Johnny Avila, another actor, he'll do boom mic, and then he'll also go help with props or something. So everybody jumps in to do whatever just to make it done. Without one person, it's not going to happen. We all are like a collective group working on it together.
Absolutely. And I have another viewer, Nick. He said, make sure you tell them angle and poison.
Angel and Poison. Oh, okay.
Angel and okay, Angel.
That's yeah, he still can't spell. That's my dad. Nick actually came and worked on us on a film we did last summer called The DeMarco Crew. And he came down to visit. I said, okay, but I'm filming when you come. So if you come, you better help work. And let me tell you, my nephew, Nico, Nino and Nico, you got to love it, right? Nico was helping doing boom mic. He was helping being an extra. Whatever we needed, he was there carrying boxes in. Whatever we needed, he was there. So, yeah, Angel and Poison, those are the songs that we do at karaoke. But, yeah, I mean, look, my nephew came down for a week and he helped me in the movie too. So it's everybody is so important to the, to the project.
How cool is that?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Now are you still good for a few more minutes?
Oh,
a
yeah,
couple more questions. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This one I wanted to ask you as well. Nino, when filming a movie on set, generally how many hours in a day do you normally shoot, or it just depends?
We do about 6 hours and then take a lunch break, 30 minutes, 30 to an hour, depending what we have to shoot that day. And then we'll do another 6 hours. So we'll call it at 12 hours a day, not counting the 30-minute, 40-minute lunch break.
Okay. Do you just normally shoot at one studio, or do you guys have a few location areas that you shoot at?
Greg likes to shoot at standing sets, which makes a lot of sense. I like it too, because, you go in there and room 1 is a bar, room 2 is a hospital, room 3. So you kind of know as you're writing these two, what's available to you. We've used about 4 different standing sets. Navision 8 Studios we use a lot. And then we'll film maybe one day. We'll rent a house that, a lot of on Gigster, you can find a lot of people in LA that rent their house for like 10 hours. So we'll do that. So it'll be a little bit of like a house where the family will leave for the day and, we're responsible for it. And then standing sets.
Have you shot a movie outside of LA, California, Los Angeles?
Yeah, I got behind me here, actually, the American Western. It's the first Western we did. We did those about an hour outside of LA in like Lancaster. And that was cool. That was mainly all outside, like exteriors. My dad was a big Western fan. And Greg told me one time we were prepping on another movie. And he said he wanted to make a Western. So I said, well, okay, I have a Western for you. So I wrote the Western, American Western. And it was, and again, kudos to Nicole for helping find the like Western clothes, and everybody kind of chipped in. Someone said, oh, I have a cowboy hat, or I have this. And then, Greg scouted out the locations, and then Louis DeStefano had a hookup with the horses. We had horses, and I was a little scared at first. I never rode a horse in my life. And then I did about 30 minutes of practicing with the horse wranglers. And then I thought I got it down pretty good. So that was a really fun movie because we were making a Western and everybody talked like they were from, the Old West and whatnot. And that was a really fun movie, about an hour outside of LA.
Okay. And that's another thing I wanted to ask you about, props and stuff. And also, I don't know if you want to talk about Alex Baldwin, but when you guys are using guns, I guess, on a movie set, who's responsible for like making sure that it's safe for everybody? If you don't want to get into the Alex Baldwin.
Oh no, I just my deepest condolences to the family. That was such a sad situation that happened. I send my condolences. But there's always a weapons master who it's a different person maybe on every set, but whoever it is before we start always says, hey, he shows everyone we're having a safety meeting. This is the prop gun. It's not loaded. This is and they literally, we do this every time a safety meeting before. We won't do anything with those kind of props without having a meeting first. So it's very important to myself as the producer and, Greg as well, that, we cover all the bases on things like that. It's very important.
I should have reworded the question on that. I didn't mean to I hope I didn't put you on the spot with that.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. Hey, like I said, you're the first producer, actor, writer I've had on my show. So I'm just kind of trying to learn from you guys, hear your story and learn from you.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. This one I wanted to ask you. You mentioned it to me when we were talking on social media, but who are some of your favorite actors, actresses, and some of your favorite old time movies?
Oh boy, we could talk forever, but I'll give you the condensed version. To me, I feel the greatest actor of all time is Marlon Brando. I just, if you see his movies like On the Waterfront, or, Streetcar Named Desire, or even, obviously The Godfather, Last Tango in Paris. To me, I think he's the GOAT when it comes to acting. But and then obviously, like I said before, being Italian American, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, they were, heroes of mine to this day. It's really funny. My first day in LA that I moved here when I was 21, after acting class, I was walking through the Santa Monica Promenade. Al Pacino's having coffee. I mean, I couldn't have scripted this any better. I'm 21. I moved to LA to do movies like Al Pacino. I get out of acting class and Al Pacino's there. And I had my mom and dad with me. And my dad started speaking to him in Sicilian dialect. And Al Pacino was talking back, and then we talked, and he told me good luck. He gave my mom like the kiss on the cheek, like the Italian style way, And it was, so that's my story. I swear to God, my first day in LA, I met him, but it was really, really, really cool. And then, growing up also, I was a big fan of Sylvester Stallone because the Rocky movies, Rambo, and then, John Travolta. I think Saturday Night Fever is one of the greatest movies of all time. But then also I'm a fan of like Harvey Keitel, Robert Duvall. I love George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Meryl Streep is great, Diane Keaton. I mean, too many. I love anyone that's really committed to their craft, but there's so many I can't name them all, but Denzel Washington, I'm a big fan of Denzel. I'm really, really big. I think the new kid, Austin Butler, was really impressive in Elvis. It's so tough to pick who can win Best Actor, but I think Austin Butler has a great career ahead of him as well.
My mom, who's 77, she's a huge Elvis Presley fan. So anytime I drive her, I always have to put on the Elvis Presley satellite radio.
Nice. What's your favorite
for her? So
your mom's
now
favorite
when I
album?
put it on, I'll think you as well.
Great. What's your mom?
I don't know if she has a favorite. I'm not sure. She likes them. I think she likes them all. But I think he passed away when I was about 5. I think what was it, August 77. But I don't mind his music. Like I said, it's kind of peaceful and calming, his music.
Yeah, and I really like watching his live performances, like when he got to the Vegas years, because he was so in tune, not just with his craft, but with the audience. And that, he just vibed off of the audience, and I think, my favorite Elvis song is Suspicious Minds. That's the ringtone on my phone, but that's kind of like my my theme song, so to speak. That's my Elvis song, but definitely powerful performance.
Absolutely. And I was going to say Jailhouse Rock for me, but can you imagine if Elvis could have lived another 20, 30 years, how many more songs he could have?
Yeah, sadly, he died too soon, didn't he? It was very young. I believe he was 42. I mean, that's, it's sad, but I mean, his music lives on, his movies live on, I guess, right?
Yeah, for me and my 50 years on this planet, obviously Elvis is number 1, but the number 2, I would say, I'm not sure if you agree with this, but Michael Jackson, you didn't like him as a person. He was a tremendous performer for what he did over his time.
Oh, yeah. Going back to when he started with his brothers, I mean, the kid was another one of those, amazing talent, one of the greatest of all time, and again, died too soon, but yeah, it was, those are all icons, Elvis, Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra. I mean, such great performers.
Favorite Frank Sinatra song, since I have you on this?
Favorite Frank Sinatra? The one I like to sing a lot is The Summer Wind. So I guess I would go with Summer Wind. That one's a good one.
That's a good choice. That's a really good choice. But
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Now, right now, if you had to pick a favorite artist right now, who would it be?
As far as music?
Yeah, as of now.
Oh man, who do I like now? I like Lady Gaga's music. I like Drake. I like, if we're going modern stuff, I like Justin Timberlake always puts out good stuff. Anything like that I like. I'm drawn more to a lot of the older music, but I mean all these, like Pitbull always has songs that make you dance, Jay-Z, Beyonce, any of those, those are fun. Those are more like dancing kind of music. And my family, when we get together for weddings and stuff, we have all that stuff playing. So any of those, newer ones I really like a lot.
Yeah, I'm a Bob Seger fan.
Oh yeah.
And also my favorite band would be the Eagles.
Oh yeah, great.
Hotel California. That's just one of the greatest songs of all time. Sorry?
That's like a 9-minute song. It's a really long song, isn't it?
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of that, obviously you're not in the music industry, but on average, how long are your movies? Do you guys predetermine the length before you do it, or it just depends on how it's going?
Because Greg likes them around, we do the scripts at about 65 pages. So that's like a minute a page. And then once you edit it and put in like the credits and everything, they end up being around anywhere from 70 to 80 minutes. Tubi, they play every 12 minutes, they play some ads. So if you have a 75-minute movie with the ads and everything, it'll stretch it out a little bit. So for what we're doing, the final running time ends up being anywhere from 70 to 80, more or less.
Yeah, because I find now when you're in a movie theater, after about 2 hours, people, I don't know, people find they just, it's hard to keep paying attention. It depends on how good the movie is. It's just, I just wanted to ask you about that on like what an average time for 20 movies is.
I feel also as a writer, like I like to keep my scenes, the pace moving fast. Everyone has their own, I don't know the formula, but for myself, to not lose like attention span from people, I don't make a scene longer than 3 pages, 2 or 3 pages. I like to keep the scenes moving fast paced, boom, 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 hit the spot and move on, move the story,
Okay. How important is editing in the movie industry as well?
Oh, I mean, that's, Francis Ford Coppola had the great quote, you make a movie 3 times. The script is the first time, when you film it is the second time, and then the third time is in the editing room. And it's very important, Michael is the name of the editor that cuts all our films together. And, we work so well, him, me, and Greg. He'll do a cut and then he'll send it to me and Greg. Greg will give some notes. I'll give some notes. They'll send it back. I'll keep giving them notes. And then once we get it to where we can pass it on, where it's good enough, then we'll move it on to Greg, who'll do his own finishing tweaks to it. I mean, Greg Hatanaka is so talented on so many levels. He directs, but he also does the camera. He operates the camera, kind of like Steven Soderbergh. But he knows the thing. Me and him got along so well. I mean, he's like a brother to me. We like the same old movies, So like we'll be like, oh, it's like that scene in Last Tango in Paris, or it's like that scene in The Godfather, or it's like that scene in Empire Strikes Back when Han Solo kisses Princess Leia. So we talk like that. I think that's why we can talk about old music and old movies for hours, but he's so talented that he'll do this. He'll operate the camera. He'll do the editing. I mean, a million things. I'm really fortunate to not just to work with him, but to call him my friend. But yeah, editing is very vital in getting your movie cut right.
Also, do you have a huge say in the music, getting the right music for the movie and for a scene?
Usually pick out, there's a spot we go to where we can get pre-recorded music. You can kind of buy it online or whatnot for films, like independent films like ours. And I'll usually pick it out since I wrote it, and I'll send it over to the editor and Greg, and I say, oh, well, for this character, and I'll spend hours looking. I'll be looking online, and I'll be like, I think this character, this song is like his theme song. I think this is a good love theme, or I think this is good for the fight scene. So I'm very involved with that, definitely.
Have you ever had any issues with copyright, or you guys try to avoid that?
The sites we use, they sell their music to like filmmakers and whatnot. So we're not going to use music that's like the Beatles or anyone like that. But these are people. This is a website where these are musicians that have sold the rights to their music to be used in movies and whatnot.
Okay, great stuff here. I love hearing all this stuff behind the scenes of a movie and stuff like that.
Sure.
Okay. You got a couple more questions?
Yeah, please.
Okay, no problem. What are some of your latest projects you're working on as a producer, writer, and actor, if you're able to say anything?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have right now, we just released a few movies. A couple months back, we had Dark Deeds, which was kind of a erotic thriller detective whodunit movie. Bad Timing, American Western. These all came out. And then I have 3 movies in post-production that we're working on right now. That's kind of, I don't have anything lined up to film at the moment, but that's because we have these 3 films that we're trying to put out. We have a movie called, I'm trying to think the order we did it, Night Cops, which is like my love letter to those old 1980s and early 90s action movies. I mean, it's really, if you grew up liking that genre, I think you'll love it. And we have, I'm working on the rough cut of that right now with Greg and Michael, the editor. And that's such a throwback. It's a fun 80s kind of cop movie, And then we also did the DeMarco Crew, which is kind of like a Ocean's 11 heist movie. It's really like a throwback to those old Rat Pack films, but there's also a nod to the George Clooney films too. It's the best friends that are all thieves together, and there's that, the glitz and glamour of that life. That was a lot of fun. I cast all my friends as like my crew in that movie. I played Dean DeMarco, and everyone was cast so perfect. We put Nicole D'Angelo, who does a lot of the, the producing and all the behind the scenes stuff. We cast her as the lead, and we had a good chemistry in it. And then, like Chris Spinelli's in it and Louis DiStefano, and all of us, we don't have to act because we're that way in real life. I mean, we get together. It's like, we're having fun all the time. So it was very easy for everyone to jump in and play those roles. It literally was like we weren't acting. And then the last one that I have in post-production is this urban drama called Crack, where I play a supporting character, but it's a story of an African-American drug dealer, and he's kind of figuring out life and trying to figure out what he wants to do. And my character kind of plays like his mentor in a way, like the guy who's like a second father to him. And I'll tell you, the young talent we have on that film, Crack, I mean, they're very Marquise Moody and Sharday Jameson, and that's such a great cast. I'm really excited with Crack because it's such young, talented actors on that. So I'm really excited. All 3 of these films for everyone to see when they start coming out soon.
On average, how long does a movie stay in post-production, or it just varies?
I can tell you, last year we shot a bunch of movies, so it could be like 8 movies are waiting to get edited, and there's only one editor, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it could be, like DeMarco Crew, we filmed, I believe, in June or July. So, and here we are now, it's March, but little by little, because, Greg's the distributor too. So he also knows what movie to release next, besides the ones that he does with me. He'll know, oh, well, this movie would be good coming out in this month, and then we can put this movie here. So it's all about, we edit the next one that's coming up for release,
Okay. And I have another viewer comment.
Okay.
Oh, let's see. Frank Stallone, guitars. Hey, brother Nino. Good stuff.
Oh, hey, boss. How you doing? Yeah, that's Gary. Yeah, they work. That's a friend of Frank Stallone. They have great guitar shop. I mean, you got to check out there's some really cool guitars. It's online, you can order, and yeah, really good people. It was, like I said, working with Frank was something in my career I'll always cherish, and it was great. He told me a million stories, and he did the soundtrack for Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. So we talked about that. I love that soundtrack. So yeah, good people, definitely.
Speaking of guitars, do you play the guitar?
I don't. I wish I did. My younger sister Georgina was a piano player, tremendous. I mean, she was like a child protege. She was really good. I never did. The most I can do that's musical is karaoke, if you want to call that musical.
All right. What favorite karaoke song? What are some of your favorite karaoke songs besides Elvis and Frank Sinatra?
Run Around Sue. That's a good one with Dion and the Belmonts. I like to do that. Poison, Belle Biv DeVoe, that kind of gets the crowd going. Angel, my nephew Nico mentioned earlier, by Shaggy. And then That's Amore is a really, let me tell you, if you get everyone drinking at the bar and you go up and do That's Amore, the whole bar will sing, to the point where the bartenders at the garage will be like, are you going to sing That's Amore again? Because they know, but that's like a crowd. The words are there. Everybody sings along. I have my Jack Daniels in my hand, and that's like, any of those are my go-to, definitely.
I'm going to reword this question, and
Sure.
what are some of your most memorable movies you've been a part of so far in your career?
Well, like I said, the funnest time I had was working on Wise Guy Christmas. That, like I said, working with the whole cast and crew, that was a lot of fun. And also, I got to thank Greg for that, because Greg lets the actors, kind of improvise and add our own little thing to it. Greg doesn't really like to rehearse. I like to rehearse with the actors, but I don't like to over rehearse, So like, I always like to meet with the actors over coffee. We'll go to a coffee shop somewhere in LA, and we'll get coffee, and we'll talk about the movie or the project. And then we'll run lines, but I tell them, let's not run the lines a lot, because then to me it gets too stale. You know what I mean? I like it to be fresh when we're there. We'll run it once or twice, and then, for me at least, everyone's process is different. But Greg allows us to experiment with these different ways of approaching the scenes. So Wise Guy Christmas was the funnest. I love all my movies. The Western was memorable just because it was a Western. I'm in a cowboy hat riding a horse. And then the dearest character to me is Nick Romano in the American Mobster movies. That's because, like I said, that goes back to when I was a kid. I was writing these Nick Romano stories, and like I said, there's a VHS somewhere of me playing Nick Romano at 19. And I've done 2. I did the first one with Frank Stallone, and then we did American Mobster Retribution. And I'd like to, if possible, one day, I'd like to play Nick Romano maybe one more time, maybe a third American Mobster movie, if it's ever possible.
I was going to ask you this as well. Any more Christmas movies are you going to be looking at in the future as well?
I don't know. It depends. That Wise Guy was so specific. I played the character over the top on purpose because it was a comedy. That was just came from Greg telling me that they put out Christmas movies every year. And I think if I ever did another Christmas movie, it would be more of a traditional Christmas Hallmark type thing, rather than doing the East Coast big accent over the top mafia thing. I think if I ever did something again with Christmas, it would be more of a traditional story.
Okay. Where can my Canadian audience here and audience in the States find the majority of your movies right now?
They're all on Tubi, or they will be. The 3 that I mentioned, DeMarco Crew, Night Cops, and Crack will be there soon, or Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime, some of them, like I believe the American Mobster movies, if you have a Prime account, they're free, or you can rent them for like $2 or $3, something like that.
Okay.
This is Luca Tomadi. Ciao, Luca. This is Luca. I tell everybody he's my uncle, but I'm the tall one. He's the good-looking one. But I tell you, Luca is a great actor. He's from Sicily, like my dad, and he has the best restaurant, Bella Cucina, in Santa Clarita. If you're ever coming to LA, you and me got to go there, because this guy, he treats you like you're at his house. It's the best food, best Italian. It's a great time. So ciao, Luca. He's a good actor, and anytime I write a movie, I put Luca in my movies.
Okay, and I want to thank him for watching. And he just said Bad Timing movie.
Yeah, he was in Bad Timing. Yeah, we did the movie. It came out, Bad Timing. Luca, he was great in that. And then he was in the movie Crack. We did so many. He was in Night Cops. I mean, he's, I love working with him. He's like family. I see him. I mean, I always get happy. We laugh together so much when I see him. We laugh together. It's great. It's like family. He's really, he's a good guy.
When a movie is done and it's out released, do you and the cast and the crew go out and have a little celebration?
We might. Some of us live in different areas. Like, I live in LA, basically by Sony Studios. Greg lives in Santa Clarita. Chris Spinelli lives near Pasadena. Everyone's kind of in a different place. So if we happen to be together, we will. What we will do sometimes, when we're done filming, we'll celebrate. We'll get a bite to eat, or we'll have a couple of drinks or something like that. But we've only been able to do a screening for American Mobster Retribution, and then a screening for the Wise Guy Christmas, and then we'll celebrate after that too.
Okay, well, I want to thank Luca for watching this as well. Now, you did say having a drink. Are you a wine drinker? And if you're a wine drinker, white or red, and what's your favorite brand?
If I drink red, if I drink wine, it would be red. It would be like, I like the Italian wines like Sangiovese or something like that. But I like also nice Cabernet too. If I drink wine, it would probably be with like Italian dinner type thing, like for having pasta and stuff. But I'm an avid fan of Jack Daniels. That's my. You can ask anyone. Probably anyone watching this is laughing right now. Jack Daniels on the rocks. That's my drink. But I sip it. You know what I mean? If I go to karaoke or whatever, I'll I'll have it just on the rocks, and they'll just sip throughout the night. It's the Frank Sinatra diet, I tell everybody.
Definitely. And Lucas says whiskey. I was
He
gonna say
knows. And he
for,
has some
for
Bella Cucina, let me tell you.
wow. For me, I like beer. I'm a
Okay.
beer guy. I'm a beer
I like
guy
also,
here.
I like cigars too. Even in places that I'm allowed. Like I have a nice patio looking over the street, so sometimes I'll have a cigar and a whiskey, or if I have some of my buddies over, because I cook a lot, so some of my buddies will come over and we'll have a cigar and have a couple of drinks or whatnot.
What are the best cigars in California?
You know, I found this spot down the street. I forget the name of the store, but they're Dominican. Believe it or not, they're really nice Dominican cigars, and they're, Cubans are always good, but there's some really good ones, man. They're all, from another country, but they're some Dominicans, Cubans. You can't go wrong.
If you ever come to the Toronto area, Niagara Falls, Ontario is huge wine country. So if you
Okay,
ever come here, you'd have to check out Niagara Falls, Ontario. It's sort of like Vegas, but also it's
right.
wine country here, and they have really good wine. Have you ever tried ice wine yet?
No, I've heard of it though. Is that good? Have you tried it?
Yes, yes. It's not cheap though. It's not cheap.
Yeah, I heard it's a little pricey, right?
Definitely. So, all right. And I have one more question I wanted to ask you, Nino. And I really want to say thank you for coming on my 253rd podcast show
With
since
the
March of
pleasure.
2020. Really appreciate it. And everybody watching this live stream and later on audio as well. This one I wanted to ask you about. Quick thoughts on the Oscars this past Sunday night. Unfortunately, I did not see any of it.
The Oscars, I thought it was entertaining. I thought Jimmy Kimmel did really good. I think he's one of those guys that's a natural for hosting, and they kept it light. They didn't try to make it too deep or anything like that. And like I said, you see some of these actors that haven't done movies in years. I mean, all one, like supporting actors, supporting Jamie Lee Curtis, Brendan Fraser. The nice thing was the Indiana Jones short round reunion when they handed the Oscar, there with Harrison Ford at the end. That was, that was really cool. But it was, I think he came off as very positive. And that was a good thing. I think that the Oscars needed. I think everyone there was pretty pleasant. And what I liked was even the ones that might not have won the award were still applauding their contemporaries. They were clapping for their other nominees. I thought that was cool because at the end of the day, we got to support one another, and I think that's very important. And I thought that that's what we saw at the Oscars.
Now, are the Oscars only by invite only, or can the general public buy tickets to that?
No, you have to be invited. If you have a ticket, your plus one can be anybody. You know what I mean? But yeah, you need definitely one of them people have to be invited or nominated or invited.
Okay. And to wrap this up, what are some of your favorite foods to cook? And just tell us a little bit about your pizza again, homemade pizza.
All right, my homemade pizza, it's thin crust. Now, our pizza back home, our most popular one was the everything pizza, which that's probably not as popular in LA, but it's like Italian sausage, pepperoni, mushroom, onion, pepper, black olives. I'm probably missing some bacon. The thing is, you can't overdo it. Otherwise, it's not, you just got to put a little bit of everything. So there's a little mixture. But I like that. I like a margarita pizza with fresh mozzarella and basil. I like that too. Any of those pizza. My little girl will cook for me. I got to tell you, I have a 7-year-old daughter named Marley. And I'm going to get her first thing tomorrow morning. Now, my little girl, Marley, she lives half the time with her mother in Florida. We co-parent well together. It's really great. And then she lives with me in LA for the summer and then Christmas and spring break. My little girl one day will be an actress. I'm telling you, she's got it already. This little girl, if you see her, the personality, this girl was made to do movies. I won't push it on her, but I know one day she's going to want it. I told her, I said, if you ever want to do a little part in one of my movies, So anyways, going back to the pizza, my little girl will make her own little pepperoni pizza. Marley will make her pizza, then I'll make my everything, or she'll help me make my everything. So that's my my pizzas. And then I'm a real fan of seafood. I like to make risotto with seafood. I think that's my go-to. Lobster, shrimp, clams, mussels, all of that, calamari. And then for pasta, and do a seafood pasta. I like pasta matriciana, which is basically guanciale, which is like the cheek of the pig, and onion with a little spicy tomato sauce. All of that. I love it all. Carbonara, that's from where my mom's from in Rome, with the egg and the cheese and guanciale, all of that. I make it all.
Yeah, for me, I love lasagna and I love
Yep.
fettuccine alfredo. And homemade is always the best.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell the difference with the noodles, definitely.
Is there one thing you will not put on a pizza? For me, it's pineapple. I just don't think pizza and pineapple mix.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's funny. When I mentioned my buddy Armando Bravo, who went to acting school with me, he's like one of my best friends. We call him Spider. That's his street name for whatever reason. So he loves pineapple and ham pizza. Why, I don't know. So he'll come over and he'll be like, I want a pineapple and ham pizza. I'm like, I won't make that. My mother, God bless her, will make it for him. That's my mom, but I do not like pineapple on any pizza. But he'll do it anyways. But he's my best friend, so what can I do?
And Luca Pizza Palermo.
Palermo. Palermo, that's
Yeah.
good too. Luca at Bella Cucina, they make really good pizza too. I'm telling you, ever come to LA, we'll go there together. We'll have a great time. It'll be fun.
And he mentioned something else, mozzarella something
A
pizza.
buffalo. Yeah, that's
Buffalo.
the fresh. That's like the fresh mozzarella. So you put it on after you cook the pizza. I do that too sometimes. It's really good.
All right. And my friend Shelly, who I've known for a number of years now, she wants wine and pizza in a fancy restaurant, I guess, from our conversation on here.
Okay. I guess I'm getting people hungry and thirsty, right?
Definitely. And she just said, finally, I bet his daughter is beautiful and so intelligent. Shelly, thank you for watching.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, me and her mother work very hard. We're very proud of our daughter, and she's a sweetheart. I'm really excited to see her tomorrow morning. I'm flying out to Florida.
So happy for you. Hey, and I want to say thank you so much for giving me so much of your time today and sharing your life story and how you got into the industry and stuff like that. And I really thank Chris Spinelli for introducing us as well. And it really helps to know people like it's not just making friendships, it's connections as well. And I guess Chris has liked my work the last couple of years, and I'm so appreciative of him connecting us up for today.
Oh yeah, well again, thank you for having me. Like I said, I'm a fan of your show. It's great, and yeah, Chris. Like I said, Chris is one of my good friends. Like I said, all my movie family, they're all very dear to my heart. Greg, Chris, Nicole, Linda, Louie, Benny. I shouldn't start naming people because I'm gonna forget, But all of them are very very close to me as a, movie family, and I'm really happy that we got to make the connection here. Definitely.
Absolutely. And if you can give me about 20 minutes, I'll have our episode downloaded to all my audio platforms, and I'll definitely send you a link as well. But I hope you have a wonderful time with your daughter. Enjoy it. It goes by quick.
Yeah.
And where can my audience again find you on social media if they wish to follow you?
My name in. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Definitely. And I think that's pretty well it. There was something else I was going to ask you, but I can't remember. I'll have to send you a DM or whatever. But again, I want to say thank you so much for coming on today. And I've got one more late comment.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I get my audience in here too. Linda S. Wong, Nico Rains. I'm not sure what that means.
Linda's right here on the poster. You can see from the Western. I have some of my posters around here. Linda played the lead female in American Western. My character's name was Nico Rains. So yeah, Linda was great. Linda's a blast to work with. So we had a good time working on that. That was a fun time. We did the movie.
Linda, thank you so much for watching my Canadian podcast. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Oh no, I was just saying we did that movie. We did Bad with Luca. Had a day off and then went right into the Western. So yeah, we're always making movies. It's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, Linda, for watching my Canadian podcast show. It's really not Canadian anymore. It's international. And I'm going to have to watch a couple of your movies tonight. I do have Amazon Prime, so I'm going to watch a couple of your movies, and I'll give you my feedback.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Again, I want to say thank you so much, Nino, for coming on here. I really enjoyed speaking with you today, and I hope you enjoy your time with your daughter, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you on social media. And when I do finally come out to California, I've got like 10 friends now. I'm going to have to come out and see when I get out there.
Yeah, come out. Let me know. We'll have a blast. So I'll take you to karaoke. Okay.
But I won't be singing unless I have a few drinks in me.
That's fine. We'll make everybody sing. Don't worry.
Definitely. But I hope you have a great evening, and
You as well.
we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much,
All right,
Nino.
buddy. Take care. All right.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right. Ciao.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed my podcast show today. Season 5, episode 33, and my 250th episode with actor, writer, producer Nino Cimino. And he's also the founder of Cimino Productions as well. So really appreciate him coming on. And I want to say thank you to everybody watching this live streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter as well. And if you guys can give me about 20 minutes, I'll have this episode downloaded to my audio platforms as well, guys. And before we wrap this up, guys, as always, live with CDP Sports Talk, weekly sports and entertainment talk show, and hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame, is now on weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports in talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. So I thank you to Ryan O'Neill, the station manager, for putting me on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. Check it out as well. Also, guys, I want to say thank you to Pat Mellacaro today for coming on my podcast show as well and talking some Buffalo Bisons baseball earlier today, guys. And that podcast is already available. Live with CDP Sports Talk again is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And I got another comment here, so William else do this. Linda S. Wong, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. I really appreciate it. Hey, a podcast is only as good as its guest, and Nino was awesome today. And he's the first actor, actually first movie producer, actor, and writer I've had on besides Chris Spinelli as well. And if it wasn't for Chris Spinelli, I wouldn't have had Nino on today. Again, Linda, thank you so much for watching live with CDP Sports Talk. It's now branching out from Sports Talk as well. And I know Nino is a big Bears and Bulls fan as well. But again, thank you for watching. And Shelly, thank you for watching. Luca, thank you for watching. And Frank Stallone Guitars and Nick and Vincio, thank you for watching as well. And like I said, I really appreciate everybody supporting my podcast show as well. You guys can also check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. All my digital content, previous podcast shows are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame as well. As always, guys, live with CDP Sports Talk again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And also, guys, you can check out the 2023 Chevy Trailblazers. I'm quite happy with my RS model that I bought on January 25th as well. You guys can also follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. I post a lot of content for my podcast show on TikTok as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting, StreamYard I would highly recommend. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is produced by CDP Media Productions, myself, Chris Pame. And as always, Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast, the audio version is available on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Stitcher, and Tuned In. And if you guys can give me about 15-20 minutes, I'll have this episode downloaded to my podcast show, my audio version of this show downloaded as well. Finally, you guys can email me at cpame, that's cpame, Pomay, 19 @gmail.com if you have any questions or comments or suggestions for my podcast show as well. So cpame19@gmail.com. You guys can also follow me on LinkedIn and all the other social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and also please consider subscribing and liking my YouTube channel as well. The next live with CDP Sports Talk will be next week. I just have to confirm my guest and date and time as well. And that's about it. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest today, Nino Cimino, who's an actor, writer, producer, and the founder of his own production company, Cimino Productions, out in Los Angeles, California. Thank you so much, Nino, for coming on. Really enjoyed talking to him as well. And again, thanks to Pat Malacaro for coming on as well. So that's about it, guys. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone watching this on live stream or my audio platforms, or later listening to this on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Atlanta. I hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll be in touch with you guys on social media for my next podcast show next week, season 5, episode 34 for next week. I have some more great guests booked for next week. I just have to again confirm dates and times with my guests. So all right, guys, have a great evening, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. And again, Live with CDP Sports Talk is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and available on WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta area. Have a great evening, everybody, and thank you again for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk.